Oh, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show. welcome. Karen Jones, good to see you. Owl Strong, hello. It's hot in North Carolina. Ooh, Tammy's asking the question right away. Does anybody think Malaya is innocent here? That she doesn't know anything? Just curious. I think that the reason she's being quiet is because she knows. And there's probably two things working. She's probably got a fear of Janie and Daniel, and a fear of having this all go to trial and, end up in a courtroom and being, found guilty of something. What is that? There'll be something. An obstruction of justice isn't even in the ballpark. It's a lot worse than that, I would think. Especially when they find out the truth. But I don't think necessarily she just knows what happened. Oh, you don't have to thank me, Al Strong. Thanks for being here, hanging out with me, talking about this case. I think about this quite often. Are you guys watching any other channels? Who are you watching? Let me know in chat. Dolly, or maybe you don't have to let me know. Then people will hold it against you. Don't do that. I don't do that. I tune into Dolly now and then just to see what he's bullshitting about. I wonder what Cher is talking about. You're over there at Sonny's, Ashlyn? No, you don't have to tell me. Wherever is live talking about it, really, I want to see what they're talking about. Daniel's here and there and everywhere, sending messages in different groups and different chats. Those are fairly interesting. So bizarre. Oh my God. Good to see you, Slim and Sky Maiden, of course. Welcome in. Well, they're fairly busy deflecting, I'd say. Of course, everything here, I'm just suspicious. I'm not trying to paint them in a guilty light necessarily. I'm judging their honesty, and I don't think that they're being very honest. Yes, Prayer Garden of America talking about this as well, Alice Strong. Prayer Gardens of America reporting facts. Oh my God. What is she talking about over there? It's not a whole lot of facts. She's probably pretty upset about the situation, I would expect. I see that she's feuding with another channel, Pandrew. He's changed his channel name again. I can't remember what it's called now. Well, Beyond Warped, you're saying maybe something happened while Malaya was sleeping and she is scared of Daniel, so she's quiet but working with the RCMP. Well, they are in communication with one biological relative of Jack and Lilly, is the way that they phrase it. Maybe they are. That's the way the RCMP state it. They're not communicating to Daniel and Janie about the situation in the case due to the fact that they're not blood relatives. Excuse me. Hello, Joe Neal. AB, you need a feud. It's good for business. I'm done feuding. I've had my feuds and things like that. I don't like it. I don't like to alienate, and it is funny, but sometimes it can alienate a certain element of the audience, and that's never cool. But that's all part of the drama community in that situation, right? That's the drama coming in, and there's always drama. People bring you drama. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. Hello, Lindy. Yeah, don't expect them to be willing to tell you the truth or be forthcoming about this. I wouldn't expect so. They certainly do a good job pretending and protecting protecting pieces of well, protecting information, we'll call it. Tammy Burke, what do you think? I have one somewhat favorite creator. Oh, let me see. Is it Dolly Vision? Daniel is playing Convict Me With My Words. I can't stop digging myself into a hole. LOL, Randy McLean. Yeah, I think so as well. You know, at some point, somebody is going to have to answer to all of the things that they're talking about. Maybe we're basing everything that we know off of how we were fed the information in the first place. The investigation is the same to a degree. We're just not privy to all of the details. 5,000 videos. I'm sure there's all kinds of questions, but you don't want to, show your cards all at once in this situation, especially when you're trying or going through the process of being lied to. I don't know why it's taking so long. Is that right, Sky Maiden? I watch a bunch of people you probably wouldn't know. Not real people. Just I'm off on a tangent. I explore different areas, but I like some of the stuff that's coming out. I don't like a lot of these clips that are all AI driven. It's just so monotonous. Some of it is too much. Daniel inserted himself right off the start and took center stage. Roger that. Well, I think that goes hand in hand with trying to take it as far as he could with looking like a concerned, loving parent. And when the allegations of abuse really came out of the mouth of Belinda Gray and what she was insinuating, combined with the photos, that really sold it for people. Daniel's going to have a very difficult time. They're going to continue with their story. They've got a story for the RCMP, but none of it makes sense, not even for daytime TV. I can't imagine it makes too much sense for the police. But they're going to accept it no matter what. Like, how long are they going to go with this? They couldn't have scratched the surface very hard. And that's not like homicide detectives. But then again, they call them the Major Crimes Unit. And who knows who the hell is all up in there running it. But I'm pretty sure that they've got some team of individuals up there talking it out. It takes a little bit of time for them to come to the realization, but they would have always, every step of the way, been careful enough and you would think skeptical. The longer and longer it goes, the longer and longer the time goes during that search, you would think that the police involved would be that much more skeptical about it. Especially when you combine it and you go back and start fact checking. Your stories get you so far, but when they go back and they search for the vehicles in and out of the place, there's only so much that could have happened in this circumstance. It's blatant in front of your face. Each and every time they get in front of a camera, they say something that reflects more of them having some sort of guilty knowledge. And how couldn't they? Of course, that's the bare minimum guilty knowledge, but psychological leakage in the sense that they're introducing the key words, but rearranging them just so to obfuscate. They hear, then they don't hear. And it's amazing that it was the silence that signified them coming to the realization that they were gone. It's almost cover for something else. Now, I'm overly skeptical or suspicious of them at this point. I wasn't always this way, but the more that I've come to learn about them, the more suspicious I am. What about you guys? I'm sure the RCMP has more videos of May 1st. I do believe this is the real timeline. What do you mean, Randy? I don't think we even know the real timeline. The only thing that that's on that timeline that I trust could even be a red herring is the sighting of them the day before. Everything else is fabricated by Daniel. They couldn't even rehearse what they wanted to say well enough in front of a camera. They all mess up. They're all engaged in circular talking in the moment. It's so confusing to really get any sort of understanding from what it is that they do say, because they say nothing direct on purpose. I don't know about you, but I know when I'm being bullshitted. When you ask a question and they avoid answering it directly in that circumstance, like usually it's when you're in front of the camera, it's pretty rhetorical, the things that you're going to say in a situation like this. Oh, we remain so hopeful. Daniel's not hopeful. Come on now. Oh, you believe that there's more footage of them at the mall or near the mall, Randy McLean? That's a good point, you know. Depending on and by the way, there's another thing that Daniel doesn't want to talk about, because then people would be all eager in scouring the place for CCTV footage. There's cameras everywhere. Karen Jones said they needed money for Timu and credit collectors were moving in. They were really poor guys, something that everyone overlooks. Poverty is no fun. No, it's not. Who said they saw the kids at the mall? Near the mall, I think it is. Yeah, and it was just CCTV. Well, yeah, it's just a statement from the RCMP. Yeah, Rufio banning, it's the latter of that, I believe. I'd say the majority of people that you come across who are talking about it believe the same thing. It was they allegedly have a person, an eyewitness as well. Whether that's Darren's son, nobody knows who he is. Kylie Madden. They can't even lie straight. What is that? I can't even. Oh, Black Opal, Australia. They can't even lie straight and need to be locked up. I kind of tend to agree with you. I'm trying to remain as neutral as possible today, though. Very, very careful. There's no possible way that they don't know what happened to those kids, in my opinion. What do they buy at the hardware store? I didn't know what they're at the hardware store, Kylie. I don't know exactly where they were. Daniel doesn't want to talk about it. Probably because people would be following in his foot tracks. He doesn't want to let everybody know what was going on. I was thinking if they expanded their search in a larger area that they could have gone from the mall in a different direction, Randy McLean. Like, you mean if they started their, like, investigators started their search from the mall and worked themselves out, like, camera-wise, and followed that vehicle after they left? I think that would be part of the 5,000 videos. What else would they be looking at on videos? Where would they be getting them? 5,000 videos? Like, I mean, that comes right from their website. That's a ton of footage. You've got to go through it a bunch of times, right? You've got to sort it, take a look at it. You got a fresh look and then a second look, match things up. Mama Angel, Karen, being poor has nothing to do with it. Well, we're probably jumping the gun a little bit, but I know where you're going with all of that. Too theoretical for my liking. Too theoretical right now for the specifics. Daniel said that they were not at the mall on text, Tammy Burke. Well, did he let you know where he was then? He said it wasn't at the mall, it was near the mall. But that's coming from Daniel, so who knows exactly? Who knows what's true? I'm just kind of remembering what the RCMP has posted. That's off my mind, but you might know more. That's the last I've heard of it. Hey, SR. What does your heart tell you, Slim? You know when something bad happens? You can feel it in your heart, and my heart hasn't dropped yet. My heart hasn't dropped yet. She's holding out all kinds of hope. Hopium. She's got hopium. That the kids are still alive. Well, what the fuck does she think happened to them? They think that they're out there just kicking it, having a camping trip since May? Do you think Daniel may have lost his driver's license? How do you know that, Karen? Randy McLean, we had many cameras on our property when we lived in Nova Scotia. So many thefts. Really? Black Opal, yeah, she's got a cold heart, it's a black heart. Right, Karen, Malaya was driving him to and from work, and Janie didn't let him drive her ATV. I wonder why that is. Oh, that's interesting. I have to put on live chat, maybe that's what it is. I don't see all your messages. Rufio, did I know the RCMP members were arrested for trafficking and employing foreign nationals? No, I didn't know that. I tend to ignore Canadian news for the most part. There's not much happening. Tweezers do steal, according to that panty sniffer, Don Wells. The panty sniffer. His friends drive him everywhere, says Karen. Malaya drove him everywhere, etc. Yeah, I guess now that you mention that, he was being driven to and from. He was being chauffeured to and from work at the lumber mill in that sense. By the way his mother describes it. I think that's where that came from, isn't it? She was talking about that scenario. Probably came from Cheryl and them as well. Driving under the influence. Is that what it is? Janie's anger towards the children is very disturbing, Lindy. Yeah. What part sticks out to you, Lindy, the most? A part of Janie's claims. I can't get that story that she just turns to the camera. She just turns to the camera. Oh, and there was a sawhorse over there that day. And I was sitting on it, bawling my eyes out. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, I'll just bet you were. Not that I disbelieve that she has the capability of crying, but it was an opportunity to really twist the reality of the situation. I was crying because, why exactly you were crying? Well, what she refuses to talk about is how she thinks her being up and awake could have prevented the kids going missing. She doesn't explain that at all. She just brings up how hard she was crying and that she thinks that she could have prevented it by lounging around in bed. Because the way they talk, the way they explain it, It just happened. Like you you called the kids in sick for school that particular day, and a couple hours later you want to present as they just disappeared. So difficult to believe. Well, you're being pretty hard on Daniel today, Black Opal. Daniel and his fried brain cells can't look after anything, just look at his life. He's just coming off meth in that sense. Give him a break. Also, on Crying Shame, you have to wait 2 minutes between comments, Kylie Madden says. And then Daniel will reply with 2 words each time. Oh, you're allowed to talk to Daniel over there, are you? It's so controlled? Oh, good God. Must respect Daniel. Yes. We don't have to respect Daniel. He's a fucking liar. I know Daniel's mom said that when Malaya needed the car, she would take Daniel to work and then pick him up after work. Yeah, she did mention that. Sky Maiden. She was only bawling because she knew her son did something wrong and he was about to get busted for it. I wonder what he could have done. I wonder what they did. What did you guys do? Could you imagine as a caring parent ever being satisfied with or having any kids under your care in the moment, just saying and being satisfied with them just disappearing? Being like, well, time to leave me alone. Time to move on. Don't even feel bad about it. If Malaya drove Daniel to work, she could have left him at any time, right? Randy McLean seems so. You would think so. But in that situation, I'm probably not going to win that argument. I don't know. We don't know what the situation is and why she left. We can suspect it, and we're probably a little bit more accurate now. She probably wants to forget because the ex that she was just with brutally murdered her kids. And she didn't do anything to prevent the escalation, and what led up to, because it was probably an ongoing disagreement there. Like they already brought it up, and that's partly the leakage that I was mentioning in my title, is that they're talking about how, she was neglecting the kids. Now, how on earth could she be the only one neglecting the kids when they all live together under the same house? No, you're all neglecting the kids. Okay, so what is it you're really saying? You're saying the kids were being neglected, probably because they were running wild, not following your rules, letting the chickens out, and you're yelling at them. So what sort of things do we not know about Daniel in that sense? How did they discipline these children? What exactly did they do to get in trouble? What types of things? In my opinion, we could be looking at Malaya staying quiet in order to work with authorities quietly in order to bring the reality of the situation. But she needs to come forward and let them know what happened here. How could she betray all 3 of her children the way that she did? So there's a whole issue going on with her as well at the moment that's really unclear. Yeah, Randy, I agree too. They're both responsible for the missing children, but this is a situation that got out of control, in my opinion, if we're theorizing it or hypothesizing, excuse me. if there was a situation that got out of control and it had to do with the way that Daniel or Janie lost their patience with the children, which was a common thing, and over time, over the past 14 or 2 years that they've lived there, it's escalated to the point where what happened? That's what we've got to figure out. I mean, that's exactly what happened with Orrin and Orson West. And that's the only other situation where I can think of two children that went missing at the same time. And look at how bang on we were the entire time. Not just me. I'm not bragging about my accuracy rate, but I'm saying you as an audience, we knew the type of bullshit when we saw it, okay? Don't ever question yourself. We don't need to question ourselves. We already know how bad they look. We're just theorizing and speculating on the next level here. So don't ever feel bad for going this far. You know, we've got to hold it back, put the reins on it sometimes. But the simplest explanation in the circumstance at this point, based off of what's come out, accurate information from Belinda, and the only thing really recently is how she sourced that particular photo, knowing that it's a real photo and not doctored. And the abuse, the marks on Jack, that's a telltale sign of abuse in this situation, and that is the strongest indicator in any investigation anywhere. Those homicide detectives have to have that information. They have to have that into the equation, that baked into this particular investigation at this point. There's no need to be talking to Daniel at any point in time the way that he claims. One, he's not a blood relative, and wouldn't you know it, the more that you iron this out with a little bit of logic, it looks and rhymes with a lot of other situations. It had to have been the people that lived there that contributed to whatever happened to Jack and Lilly that day. Just the level of victim blaming, like they put everything on the kids in this, even when they're trying to look and deflect away any sort of suspicion and give you some sort of reasonable doubt in your mind. That fails miserably in this circumstance. Because again, they just put the blame back onto the kids, and you have to remind yourself, what on earth? Hello, Roxanne. Malaya dad was a drug dealer. I heard uncle was in jail for something like that. Yeah, Randy, I think that there is something to that. It just shows that she has a difficult upbringing in this circumstance. She wasn't exactly the best mother, it sounds like. I predict Malaya is working with the detectives, Black Opal. Yeah, I would say that's probably more accurate. They have to figure out just the right questions to ask Malaya. Yeah, Mel Wilkie, she had 100% custody of Lily and Jack. The buck stops with her. Well, let's say she's in a situation where something escalated, and let's understand what just happened. Your partner in this theory, or in this hypothesis we're talking, your partner and the other crazy motherfucker that you live with, crazy duck, I mean, that you live with, just murdered your children. You've got to figure a way out of this. I got to get the hell out of here before they kill me too. Like, to what extent will these people go to not be caught in that circumstance? Lying is fairly easy when you're desperate like that. I think that we took too much of, we were so hungry in the beginning for information. That's everybody. And we took Daniel at his word until, his story started changing. Starts contradicting himself. He starts giving us the an ever evolving bullshit story and narrative That makes no sense. Not just that we don't want to believe them. Yeah, that's where people's minds are, Karen. You're predicting the other way, that she isn't. She's probably not as cooperative as you'd think she is, or we'd be a lot farther ahead in this situation than we are. But I'm just trying to get on the same wavelength, because there's got to be challenges from investigators. They're not exactly forthcoming, the suspects in this circumstance. They're being very careful with everything. By careful, I mean they're not saying anything. I don't know how careful they're being. Like, not doing anything is being careful too. So, Malaya's mom has a thing for bad guys. She met a current guy through writing him in jail. Oh, that's so sexy, Mama's Angel. That's so sexy. That's like the ultimate fantasy. What is it about the dudes in jail? Get out of here. How do you know that shit? That's craziness. Stop coddling Malaya. Get tough with her, Amy says. She has responsibility in all of this, but until we know more, we can't really say how much. I don't think she's the one. Like, I'm just going through the different possibilities of what could have happened. I'm not trying to white knight for her by any means. But she had to get the hell out of there. Slim, Malaya's instinct to call police was seeing Daniel come back from the dirt road on top of that hill, allegedly. Yeah, as soon as she was away from Daniel or Janie, she was alone, she called the police. That would tell me, Slim, if it was all impulsive like that, that's a good point. If it was all impulsive like that, let's say there's a slice of truth to this, and it kind of brought the police into the situation and forced something. That's a possibility. Like that smells like you were out moving the body, because we know that you guys didn't lose the kids. We know that they just didn't walk away. There's absolutely zero chance in my mind of those kids walking out that door and through that gate and into the bush. Like, you guys, those Daniel and her mom still want people to believe that nonsense, even after him admitting that there's so much more to this story that he wishes that he could tell everybody. No. Wrong thing to say. In this circumstance, it is. Janie Curtin can't stand those kids. The way she was talking, heartbreaking, evil. I got that feeling as well from her. Yeah, that's a good point, Slim. Like, yeah, she's guilty of neglect, possibly. But that's a long way from murder. And especially 2 children. What sort of fucking crazy SOB does it to 2 kids? That's far beyond, that's beyond premeditated in that sense. I guess you can't go beyond premeditated, but like, I mean, that is cold as ice. That's so cold. 2 kids. Well, that's not manslaughter. Oh, maybe you're talking about her, Black Opal. There's 2 counts of first degree. And a host of other things. So looking at it like that, in the Crown, you have to set or have certain parameters met in order to feel confident in getting that conviction. Moms letting their kids be abused because of their scrappy choices and POS or POS to you. Yeah, I mean, I feel the anger. I mean, I don't disagree. But it's all fine to judge her after the fact in this circumstance. She might not know the difference when she's in it. She probably didn't know any better. Not that that's her criminal defense by any means, but it's probably a situation that really didn't happen. I don't know. But it smells to me like it really didn't happen. Like at what point did it go from... That's what's got me thinking now. Because there's two kids, at what point could it not have been premeditated if there's two? Like, it's not like you backed up the car and accidentally ran the kids over. That's an accident. You call 911. Like, I guess there's a small possibility that this is the coldest mom ever, but I don't want to. It's unnecessary at this point. I guess it's not. I guess you could. I don't need to put that on Malaya at this point in time without knowing too much, because people out there already know this answer. Problem is Daniel and Janie. It smells like a situation that there's so much abuse going on in that house. We're probably just getting to know to what extent. And then Janie's attacking people on the first day. She's right in the mix of this as to, I don't think that, it's hard to say. I'm trying to think of what would happen. She's defending Daniel, and that's her sole reason for covering up. They have to be all responsible for, that has to be hanging over all of their heads. Mom letting their kids, whoops, I'm on, in your mind, Sky Maiden, where did I put your comment? I just had it. Oh, did you take it away? I'll be looking for a while. Hold on. It just disappeared. I'm going all over the place. Yeah, Sky Maiden, in your opinion, it didn't happen the way that they're saying? Absolutely not. No, that's easy to see. We should say that, reinforce that. That allows us to speculate until the cows come home. And they know, no matter what, as long as they hide the reality of the situation, nobody's going to figure it out. But they're out there flaunting it and taunting it, laughing about the situation at this point in time. They're just soaking up the attention. You're from Pictou County, and the people hear Jack and Lily's voices. We will never, ever let this case vanish. We will be at all the court cases and fight for these precious children, Shelley says. Well, Shelley, bring your camera phone with you. Yeah, just think about Lori Vallow's situation. I guess that. Oh my God, that's cold as ice too. She just decided one day that she didn't love her kids anymore and finished them. And had the other dude bury them. Do you think that there's a bit of that dynamic going on here? Perhaps, potentially, if you're thinking about motive. But they're not together right now. But maybe... Damn, your cousin is on the crack. She's on the crack and stole your iPhone? Oh my God. New chain. I had it. It's crazy shite. She calls me crying saying she's got Dermadex mites and it's so sad and crazy. Holy shit, Tammy. What? That's so random. I can't believe I read that. I'm sorry to hear that. Your sister's all, or cousin's all cracked out and stole your iPhone. That son of a bitch. Lori Lynch, bewildering really how you can go on the news and actually think people will believe her. Well, that's kind of the methodology, I think, that the method to their madness in this situation, because they know how easy it is to brainwash people. Listen, it's what everybody does. Gets in front of a camera and blatantly lies. That would be the whole reason of getting up there and saying these things in front of the camera. But there, I guess there's a bit of reverse psychology involved with it. Listen, they're desperate. They're desperate. They're desperate for people to believe that those kids just walked into those woods and disappeared. Absolutely. I don't think that there's volunteer. They're not letting anybody on the property, not that I know of, Tammy Burke. They've chased a couple people away.
Okay? That's why I was crying.
We've heard a lot about the patio door.
There was a bench sitting here, or a sawhorse, it's over there, was sitting here. I was sitting on it, bawling my eyes out.
Here it is, right here.
I was crying because I blame myself for not getting up that morning to see the kids. Because if I would have got up, this wouldn't have never happened. Okay? That's why I was crying.
What does that mean? Could you explain yourself there, Janie? Explain exactly how you being up would have prevented anything? Anybody believe her? Terry Crocker says, I don't believe Malaya is a damsel in distress. She's just as guilty. If she was working with police, there would already be an arrest. No, absolutely. When I say working with the police, she's the only one in communication with them, Terry. I mean, that the RCMP is talking or giving updates to in that sense, I think they meant. You think the cops didn't bring... That's another thing, too. Old Daniel talking about wanting them to bring in cadaver dogs way back in June. Way back the beginning of June. What a funny thing to be bringing up at that point in time. It's a timing thing. It's like he volunteers all of the information when nobody's asking. Also would be an early indicator of his ever-changing stories. You think the cops didn't bring in the cadaver dogs because the trailer isn't where it happened? Still thinking May 1st after the hardware mall video, Randy McLean? What makes you say the hardware store? Is that what he said he went to? Where did you get hardware store from? Are you just bringing that up? Or making that up in that sense? Slim Pickens, AB, have I looked on Flight Radar 24 for drone activities in the area? No, should I? Is there drones overhead all the time? Tony, I know. Where are these children? I mean, it is a strong possibility that they're just... It didn't happen there. That's a good point, Randy McLean. I mean, that is a strong possibility. I wonder... I really, really wonder what happened. Black Opal, you agree with Randy too? She knows people have wondered why she was crying inconsolably. That's why she mentioned Janie, you mean? Yeah. Come on. They're really putting on a show. They're really acting. Like, think about the timing of it all. It's almost like to the investigators, when you're the first responder, they've already determined what's happened. They're going on and carrying on like a great tragedy's happened. What's happened? What's gone on? You heard the kids. All of a sudden, you didn't hear the kids. All indications that you want to insinuate that there was a stranger abduction, but there was a possibility. Remember Malaya? And then there's a possibility, as if she's up there bullshitting us that heavy. He's so full of shit. He went quiet the night of the bruise accusation and came back a day later with an explanation. Bullshit, Daniel Norbeester says, all the way from Cape Breton. Yeah, that's. He has just the right answer, and it's overly explained. It's not like it's just one picture. It's not one circumstance. There's one big one. That's the one that Belinda Gray speaks about. But people are pulling them up in these little marks from all different pages, and he's admitting to it. Yeah, they gave one another, meaning the kids, black eyes. I highly doubt that. I don't doubt that he wants to claim that. But no matter what, he has to come up with something, and it's just nonsense. There's no reasonable explanation as to why your kid's got a black eye unless they got in an accident or had an accident. Yeah, Tammy Burke, that's a good point too. Janie McKenzie, in your heart, you think that the kids are still alive. Why would you be bawling at that moment in time? So bizarre. Randy McLean, Nova Scotia woods area is thick, so damn hard even for an adult to navigate. We lived in a 100-mile wooded area. It was on video or Dolly or Criminal Shame. Okay. No, somebody else told you? Janie said drones upset her dog in the air all the time. Shelley says, oh, well, what do you expect? Better get a anti-drone device. Where did you see that, Mel Wilkie? The wet cement in a bucket out front. Doing some masonry work, are we? Amy Barrett, the kid's real father, is also a piece of work. He doesn't care if they're dead or alive, and his excuse is Malaya WTF. Well, I can't really comment on that, just what Belinda's mentioned about it. Joe Neal says the RCMP isn't letting people waste their time looking for the kids. I wonder what the hell they're doing. What are you guys doing up there? Terry Crocker, Daniel thinks no body, no crime, which may just work. RCMP is sad as Hawkins County Police. I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about that right now. I've got a little bit of faith. I've got a little bit of faith that the police know that these people are lying. How can you not? At what point can we start really complaining about, though? When should we start to complain? Ask the RCMP that. When is a good time to start complaining if nothing has progressed? Who are you talking to? Oh, there's... Thank you, Tony. It's just so upsetting because there's nothing we can do. We have to really try to help her, but she won't listen to anybody. Who are you talking about? I was looking at a map, says Randy, and the mall is close to the Northumberland Strait. For you Americans, that's the strait between Nova Scotia and PEI. Oh, thank you. Let's not shit on the RCMP yet. Joe Neal says, I think they've checked all the boxes law enforcement should in a case like this. Right, Joe, we're not. Surely that there has to be a good detective up there. It put me forward to the good detective. None of those shitty ones. Janie says, I believe she's trying to believe her own story. More like it, Esther says. You guys are good at picking these things out. You guys are all statement analysts in your own right. You would say, if speaking truth, no, we had nothing to do with it. Right. These interviews that they've had, well, they'll resemble Leakage because they were there no matter what. And we don't believe their story. Therefore, what really did happen? Our minds want to fill in those blanks. But we still have to recognize who's given us all the information to put us there. Bringing up even more question as to the actual story. We don't believe any of it. So it's really wide open. And you guys really bring a good point that it probably never even happened there in the first place. Did the kids, how do we know those kids made it home? Did they have their phones on them? Well, Daniel loves to tell you just how it was probably, he even wants to take credit for, insisting on taking a polygraph examination, as that was going to do anything. What a tool. Joe Neal said, law enforcement anywhere won't find the bodies that were carefully concealed. Yeah, something's going to find those bodies. But if they're carefully concealed, well, that's another thing. You feel that they were carefully concealed? When were they seen again? On Thursday? Or I thought it was the day before they went missing. Do you guys remind me again when they were last seen? 10... Roxanne Kellaway. You saw a video saying that Daniel went out of the house with 2 black garbage bags and said he went to a pit and burned it, and a neighbor said she could see smoke. That would be evidence. Just getting rid of some of that evidence there. Also, why did Janie say that her first instinct is that the kids would be in the woods? Malaya never said that to her. At least she didn't tell us that she said it. That's a good point, Mama. Well, there is probably no answer to that, actually, because it never happened. So there's no answer to that, but it's another instance, a red flag for Janie McKenzie's bullshit story. You're a Sens fan? You're in Canada? Really? Wow. And the Lise Fredette case, they said they still haven't found her, but Andrew Watson was charged for her murder. So that's another, you're bringing up another no body situation, and they proceeded. Yeah, that's getting more and more common, but still, in my mind, there's 2 children missing, and the last people to see them alive are lying about the circumstances leading up to them going missing. Certainly, they could have corroborated somehow their story. by placing themselves online somewhere. There's got to be some way to back up, your story somewhere, sometime. And yeah, you're right. Walking it back to that near the mall video and following from that point is going to be very, very interesting. A lot of triangulating going on, I bet. Norbeaster says, I'll somewhat crap on the RCMP. I'll still never forget their negligence with Gabriel Wortman. The absolute incompetence that killed 22 people. The very incompetence that made us Nova Scotia strong. Is that the dude in the cop car? That's such a tragic tale. That's so heartbreaking. Mel Wilkie, the RCMP had a single big lawsuit due to women in the force, a sexual assault, 200 million payout. So why put forward a woman RCMP, a spokesperson? Listen, what those federal agencies do is beyond me, and it's all inspired by a globalist agenda that I can't say that I really relate to all that much. Examine the construction efforts. The construction efforts around there are just about a nail and a hammer into everything. There's no construction going on around there, Karen. You're telling me that you're suspect of him constructing under the influence? Well, he's probably tweaking out to wood. Terry Crocker says, I hope police know, but Hawkins County Police knew too. God can intervene. They just might have to pay the price. Oh, I don't know. I think we can do better than that here. You think the RCMP lived and learned with that case? Cops have to be given frameworks to work within before the events. Tammy Burke says, Norbeaster, also they failed my cousin's sister's son was unalived. It was Stellarton police. Kevin Wesley Martin, they still haven't arrested anyone. Very sad. Really? God, Darren, you guys keep bringing up names. You're making me worried now. Big North Marty, good to see you. I don't think we'll see any real progress from the RCMP until September. Wouldn't be surprised if the key decision maker is at the cottage all summer enjoying his second wife's new rack. Ah, yes, side piece. Didn't Janie say, you're a Sens fan, I'm a Sens fan. Didn't Janie say that they were out doing laundry at someone's house until 10 p.m.? That doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right to me. I don't know where you heard that one. But I'm not saying somebody didn't say it. I never heard that. They were out the night before doing laundry at somebody else's house. Well, isn't that interesting? There's a lot going on in the background with law enforcement. We only know 10%, if that, Black Opal. We probably know 1%. Not 0.1%. 10%. Wow. Depends what we're measuring exactly. We know that they did something. We know that the cops it's the police job to be skeptical and suspicious in a circumstance like this. You've got another one, nihilism. I live in Portland, and we've seen no one arrested for Kieran Horman's disappearance, especially when it's so obvious the stepmom knows something. You see bruises too, Roxanne? Where did Lily get all the bruises on her arms and legs and back? She was badly abused, and I think that they are unalived, and they got bodies hidden from the real evidence. I would think that if the detective's first question to Daniel was, did he kill Jack and Lilly Sullivan, that would indicate that they were suspicious of them in the first place. Wouldn't it to you? Doesn't matter what that fucking machine says. They'll still be suspicious. Mel Wilkie. AB, when I'm finding information and photos of this case, where do I send it to for you? Step-by-step exploring videos at gmail.com. You can go to my About section and take my email address from there. You just have to put in no captcha. Click the no captcha to make sure you're human. Yeah, that's another person saying it. So Rebecca's saying, yeah, there's various reports of doing laundry Wednesday at somebody's house. Probably Darren Getty's apartment. Others say Thursday. Reports are, oh, that's interesting. They don't have their own laundry facilities at their home. You have to go to somebody else's home to wash your clothes to get rid of all that DNA evidence. I wonder whose house that was. I wonder if that's Janie's brothers. The laundry was at Patty's, Randy McLean saying. Randy, you know a lot about this. Wow. 2 stars to this man. Laundry was at Patty's. I don't know who Patty is. Yeah, suspicious laundry being done? Absolutely. That's going to have to go do some swabs. By the way, I'm not sure if you guys know, but if you guys end up finding the bodies and there's 2 sweaters there, those are Daniel's. Joe Neal, some do. They ride in the middle with them. Right on the back of their cages. There's no way Janie could carry Jack in the woods. She sounds like she has breathing problems and wasn't very good at walking, folks. Or walking. Looks like she has a hip problem, in your opinion. Well, that's why she's got an ATV. But that's a good point, too. That's a good point, too, Mary. Maybe she was crying because her back was in pain so much from carrying those bodies. Maybe she's just repeating what Daniel told her to say. I wonder what happened to Jack and Lily. It's really bothering me. Amy Barrett, you're talking about the baseline in the series of questions they ask him. Yeah, that sounds more reasonable, but I'm just repeating what he said on the news, according to Daniel. That's a good point. That's another one suggesting that they may not have made it home. Mary, is that Dalmatian? Welcome in, by the way. They left their phones at home on May 1st. That would prove first degree. Oh, yeah. Randy, if they left their phones at home, they said they never brought their phone or when they were out searching and things. They're just so in such panic. Oh, yeah, right. That would be the first. If you made it 10 steps and you're actually serious, you had to go search. There's no way that you would forget your phone. You would need it. You're not going to go without it. Happens if you run upon them and you need an emergency situation up there. You're going to waste the time and run all the way back with the bad hip, you old bag? Fucking liar. Yeah, Janie said they're at Patty's doing laundry till 10 p.m. Thursday while Janie was raking around the one boot print at that time. Karen. Oh, thank you very much. So I guess that's a lot of people mentioning this. Laundry was Wednesday night. When were they last seen on CCTV? Not Tuesday, was it? How is it I can't get that in my mind? Why do I keep forgetting that? The time frame. I thought it was the day before they went missing. So May 1st. Tammy Burke, that's Wednesday night. That's when you think that the children, after 10 p.m. You got the kids. You're telling me that they were seen on CCTV at 10 p.m.? Hey, Maryland Starbucks. You guys telling me that these two kids, a 4 and a 6-year-old, were out at 10 p.m. far from home at a grocery or at a store, at a hardware store? Who does laundry with 2 small children until 10 p.m.? Bedtime should be about 7 or 8. That's when those kids should be in bed. Actually, absolutely, Margaret Johnson. Why the hell were your kids with you in the first place? This whole situation makes no fucking sense. Huh. Janie also said that Malaya told her to come back to the house when she was out on the 4-wheeler with Justin. But she didn't get back for a good time gap because she was talking to somebody with a kid on a 4-wheeler. Now you guys have me really thinking. Those kids probably never even came back that night. Where the hell did they take them? Do you think that was her voice audio from Beyond the Veil? Okay. Hardware stores are open at 10 p.m.? Absolutely. All kinds of places open. He's there right at closing time. Probably got a hammer and some plastic bags. Great big plastic tote. I wonder what he bought. Oh, yeah, there'll be a Costco in Halifax. Monkey mind. Well, Sky Maiden, you thought it was the day before they went missing as well. Yeah, that would be the May 1st, 10 p.m. They were seen near the mall in New Glasgow. But come to think of it, what are you doing out with a 4 and a 6-year-old that late? And how come we don't have any accounting for them after that time? So in reality, there's a big chunk of missing time there that we don't know what happened. That's of interest. And things don't quite make sense when it comes to this walking out the door story. Who's seen them at the hardware store, Tammy? The CCTV. They're on video. The RCMP said it. And Lily had a cough, Nihilism said. Yes, apparently she was sick. Yeah, but we've got no proof that they even came back at that point in time. And I'm starting to not really believe that they did until, that's why none of their stories make sense. Like there's a detachment there. Not just emotionally, but they're really not making sense. Nothing's tangible to actually witnessing the children out there. There's a lot of avoidance in their language. Terry, you're wondering if they sold them off or something? No, there's an easier explanation for this. I mean, anything's possible, of course, but in this circumstance, there's too much abuse at hand. Anything's possible, though. Angry Rabbit, those plastic bins are starting to look suspicious at the back door. Amethyst Girl. Okay, 1 p.m., not 10 p.m. Okay. What the hell do I have 10 o'clock in my head for then? I don't know. Overthinking things. They didn't really say what was purchased at this hardware store. Daniel won't talk about it because he says it's going to interfere with the investigation that he's a suspect in. Over 48 hours, that's why police are not talking about how they were seen play the last interview. Again, you're missing the point. What do you mean? I'm not missing the point. What are you talking about? Why don't you fill me in? What part am I missing? I'm just reading comments. What are you talking about? Tammy, explain it. Daniel said he was seen on video talking to a work colleague. Yeah, but that wasn't the reason for being in the middle of fucking nowhere. He was seen on a camera with the children someplace, and that is what he doesn't want to talk to or talk about. Is there cameras that could track movements in town? Yeah, locked and loaded. There's 5,000 videos that they have. Not just from around the home, but obviously they'll be canvassing areas for recordings at that point in time. You would expect. They got that one. Lily had black eyes, black opal. Had the school see that again? Mandatory reporting and then arrest. In your opinion, that's why the kids didn't go to school on Thursday. They didn't go to school on Friday. They didn't go to school Thursday or Wednesday because it was a PD day. Wasn't it? There's a PD day, 2 holidays. And then Friday there was school. They scheduled that one well, didn't they? Those kids didn't have a bedtime or schedule. They partied. Layla, I don't know. You would think that they would have one. The RCMP said that they were seen with family members, but did not name which family members. They got home from doing laundry at 10 p.m. Thank you for straightening that out. I see what's going on. I got confused there. To you, maybe, but not to the RCMP. The RCMP said they verified them, Karen. The RCMP isn't going to tell you that they verified them based off of grainy footage that they can't decipher whose children they are. I trust them that much. Daniel says that they were home around 4 p.m. and was working on the fence. What fence? And Malaya was putting the kids to bed. Working on the fence, you just stand up a skid and nail it to the other one. That's not working on a fence, you idiot. I think a confused Sens fan. Janie's full of shit. She'd never said she saw the kids outside. She says she heard them, but then she didn't hear them. She thought she heard them. She heard the dog, and the dog heard them, she thinks. The dog was barking at something. She's not clear on that she verified the kids are out there. That's important to note. Oh, you didn't mean to sound rude. Don't take that wrong, Tammy. Oh, I didn't. I truly thought I was confused. I didn't think that I was confused about anything. But then I check myself. Knowing his vehicle type would help people check video cameras. I don't know what vehicle he drives. He doesn't drive anything. So it probably would have been Malaya out there. Who was driving into New Glasgow? It wasn't Daniel. I didn't think he had a license, you guys were telling me. They can confirm because it was an eyewitness word. They can't discredit it. Well, they can verify it because it's on CCTV. They ID'd it with an eyewitness. That's all. I don't know who's discrediting it. What time did she let the dog out to go to the bathroom? I don't know. Where does that dog go to the bathroom? Inside the fenced area? That's so wrong. No. Locked and loaded. That's drug dealers want cash. They want fiat. They don't want kids as collateral. Does he obey some laws? Daniel does? Which ones? Maybe there's just one car between them? Well, she just got a car. Didn't she just get a car? She just got a car for herself. I don't know if Daniel has a vehicle or if she's using her car to drive Daniel around. I'm not sure the organization. I see a picture with 3 cars that are similar in that driveway. I'm not sure if they all own them or not. Durwood Joe Neal is a friend of the family. He's the father of a co-worker that Daniel works with at the mill, who's been all over social media spreading false information about this particular situation. He's one of the family insiders. But we haven't heard from him in quite a while. He's not very popular on the streets anymore. Terry Crocker, I wonder if M&D agreed in unaliving both of them or what. Just hard to believe that you unalive 2 kids in a rage with both parents there. It's crazy. Terry, I know. I can't figure it out. I can't figure it out. And 2 of them. Lori Daybell. That Lori Daybell situation is probably the craziest one that I've heard. I don't know if we're dealing with the same sort of thing here or not. Slim Pickens, you're starting to think that RCMP towed Malaya's car to the impound as possible evidence. That could be possible. We don't know. They've never verified anything with us. We just go on what we're told by a proven liar, an admitted storyteller. If the kid walked off by themselves, Lisa Lee said, they would have eventually wandered off from each other being there so young. Well, I don't know about that. They didn't wander off, number one. They didn't wander off. Especially both of them. This isn't a fucking fairy tale. They didn't go on some great adventure. They're 4 and 6 and not even clothed. Don't you think it's weird that Janie's ex lives on her property? Isn't that Daniel's dad? I wouldn't want that. Not at all. But he is always lurking around. Imagine being Janie's husband. Poor guy. Oh, man. He's probably browbeaten and abused. He's probably brainwashed and conditioned. It's actually a slave. He got with her. She got with him just to break up with him. Yeah, that is a bit weird. The whole living situation there is bizarre to me. Yeah, right, Joe Neal. Yeah, that is Hollywood stuff. I don't even think I've watched that in a Hollywood movie. I don't watch movies and like that I choose. I don't. It would be something that probably happened in a movie that's stuck in people's heads. Dealers want cash, not kids. That's asking for trouble. Yeah, Sky Maiden. Yeah, the drug dealers are all of a sudden caring parents, and they're going to nurture their kid and grow up. This isn't. Maybe that happened back in like like the 7th century, or movies. You really feel the public has a right to see and how they interrogated these suspects? I think they did a crap job. Well, we do. We will be able to see that sometime, at some point. Just not in the moment. We can't be ahead of all of the legal processes and things like that, Monkey Mind, sadly. I agree with you just simply out of curiosity, but I would have to be a detective to really get an inside view of the things that I want to know. And in the case, involved in the case. So we have to wait until it's all said and done. I'm sure there'll be plenty of mistakes that they've made. There always is in a situation like this, but we're more interested in finding some sort of justice for these 2 children that are missing. That's of public interest. Hi, sweet tea. Sharon, you're saying Janie wasn't nice to Malaya? When she was green with envy, which is very suspicious to me. Janie and Daniel are living together in the trailer now. Well, isn't that nice? I wonder how quick it was. Well, they must not have had much. Yeah, this shit is ironclad, Norbeaster. Ironclad. That 1,000%. He's not even going to give the RCMP half of the information that he has. Remember all of the shit that this guy is saying? Wow. And Daniel is right there saying that it's 100% true. You believe this guy. Lacadian LeBlanc, welcome back, darling. You have a video of Janie's ex on video coming out of Daniel's trailer around 2 weeks after the children went missing. The first thing he said to the person filming him, "Did you take the kids?" He sounds like a real pleasant dude to be around. Well, how would he know, really, unless he was in on something, too? We don't need to include everybody in on this quite yet. They have to have a reason to be included. But how would he know anything? How the hell would he know what's going on around there? Oh, poor guy. Slim, you're talking about you loved how the FBI sent Letitia Staunch a fake polygraph online test. Brilliant. Oh, yeah. Do you think Daniel's pulling in a Letitia Staunch here? Or stock? I think it's a pretty high probability. You think she did it because she wanted the trailer back and they bothered her dog? They keep talking about how the dog didn't like the kids whatsoever. And so, you know, every time the kids were out, the dog would be barking and yapping. And, of course, old Janie would have to tend to the dog and calm it down every time it got anxious and hyper and protective of the trailer. Tony, AB, how can these people fool the police? Same in the Summer Wells case, because it's a typical way, Tony, that the investigation team, a police department, have to investigate a crime the same way, and there's an ever-evolving smarter mouse out there that makes the body disappear and thinks that they can get away with it simply by denying and lying in that sense. They have to prove your lies. They have to do all of this work to prove that you're lying. And if you present it in a way that doesn't offer up any evidence to say the contrary to your narrative, outside of an admission in which they would have to extract, there's not a lot that they can do, because the law, I don't want to comment on that. Listen, I've got enough problems. My opinion is biased against it. I don't want to speak in an inaccurate manner, but essentially it's fairly common. It's sadly more common today than it's ever been before. Children being hurt by the people that are supposed to be taking care of them. No, locked and loaded. Mama is back in the trailer, back in her own bed. Maybe they are sleeping together. I don't know, but she's back in the trailer. There's no need for Malay and the kids to be in there. The kids probably had their own bedroom, and that's Mom's room now. You don't think Justin and Daniel have the same father? Is that a surprise? Well, what are you saying? You thinking that Mom gets around? She's got a lot of baby daddies? Janie was once probably a young, attractive woman. Oh, I don't think so. Attractive if you've never seen a woman before. It's hard to believe. What happened to her then, Karen? Because somebody looks like she got beat with the ugly stick. Mama's Angie says, look, Katie, and that person was filming. The person that was filming them was stalking them and trespassing. They were spoken to by the RCMP and told not to be around the property anymore. Was that the same guy that went down there from TikTok? Is that who you're talking about? I see. You need cadaver dogs in that ATV and other vehicles, Norbeaster? I guess it would help. It would help, but I wonder what they know. I wonder what they know about what happened after they were seen at the hardware store in New Glasgow. I wonder what the tracking on their phone says, where they were, where all the missing time is. So it takes time for the investigators to follow up with any sort of answers of their own that they can collect, that they can hold over these assholes. Joe Neal, plainclothes detectives are probably legworking this and checking out possible burial sites in that sense. If those kids are really alive, wouldn't all the suspicious people do everything they could to prove that they were alive so everyone would lay off? Yep. Yeah, you would think so. Like their lies float to the surface over time in that sense. Time is running out for them. I think Charles Manson is a lot smarter than Janie, Karen. No one seems to do anything but complain. They're being attacked online. Wah, wah, wah. No, they're mad because people out here aren't buying their nonsense. There's no way that they're accepting a story that really isn't a story. They didn't give us anything. There's nothing to accept. They've given us a bunch of lines that don't tie into one another. It's a fabricated story. People want to know the truth, and they refuse to be lied to. That's what's going on. Nobody's, people are free to speculate. Remember early on in the case that they kept releasing these notices out there in the mainstream media about careful how you talk about this case because there may be some sort of legal consequence to really insinuating that the parents did something to these kids? Well, it's because God knows why they would do that, but listen, they did do something to those kids. And we should be outraged. Oh, I don't drink, Karen Jones. No alcohol for this guy. Kylie, man, you hope they catch somebody in a sting. What sort of sting? Probably all you have to do is tell Daniel how much you love him and how much you need him. You could probably get into this situation as a police officer. Yeah, shovel gravel over. Yeah, locked and loaded. Nobody can quite figure out. The only significance to that story is one, that it's changed. It's the family have told you that story multiple different ways. The fact that there's only one boot print on that raked gravel is not evidence that the kids were walking over top of it, because there's only one boot print on it. As though it was planted there to look like it. Staged. Yeah, Lacadian, she's probably scared. Fear of getting in trouble. I don't know what Sheet Malaya is thinking. I don't know. She needs to really take the lead in all of this. But that's just me. How do we know she's not real cuckoo crazy? Something got into her. She turned into a murderous temptress. Okay, Roxanne, thanks. Janie said that about the laundry. They got back at 10. She said awful late. Okay. Yeah, Kylie, drugs. I think he's... Just give it a little bit of time. I'm sure something will pop up. That is a cockamamie story, Terry. You're correct. Joe Neal, them... Oh, Randy, they abused those kids, so not sure that they would put that out. Yeah, Layla, you wondering if you're going to get sued? Well, that case would fall apart in court. no doubt. Why? Because it's true. At the end of the day, there's no way that they're going to be able to prove it's not. Lise knew. One boot print is the most ridiculous amateur planting of evidence. What about the pink blanket? Only an idiot like Daniel could come up with that and feel proud of himself for throwing the police off the scent. Police are pretty good at recognizing possible pieces of evidence that have been planted, and that's a fairly common thing to do. You got to give them something to work on. Keep them busy. Go look at Durwood's recent post. I don't follow Durwood. Why? What's it say? That was all on Janie's private audio. Timberg says they're talking to her for 3 days in a private chat. It's a long time to be lying. She was drunk all that time, slurring her words. I heard a little bit of that. No, Meadows not back living with Daniel. No. What? No. Meadow, he's got supervised visits. Supervised visits. And be careful, that's not an old picture of Daniel. Why is he doxing his baby daughter all over the media in that sense? That's a little bizarre. Yeah, we've kind of ruled that out a couple of weeks ago, Iwashan. It's not really a possibility anymore because the people that they would have transferred the children to have had every opportunity in its national situation to come forward and give proof of life, which would make all of this go away. It's very unlikely at this point, especially combined with the lying and the deception by way of everybody involved. Rehoming your kids isn't going to get you in trouble to avoid CPS in that circumstance. No, they're not playing that law. That's kind of the least likely on the scale of everything. They hurt those kids. There's far more evidence at this point suggesting that the people looking after them hurt those kids, and that escalated. That's probably what the most important thing the investigators are looking into, I would expect. No, I was just being sarcastic, Karen. I don't really like his hair. I was just being sarcastic, darling. Of course not. Ginny and Daniel only protect their own bio blood. Yeah, you're catching on, Layla. Mel Wilkie, the post says, look like a meth head killer to you. That's above the new photo of Daniel in Meadow. Well, actually, yeah, he does there, Durwood, you idiot. That's Darren Geddes. Is such a fool. Layla says he cares about his public image and women more than anything else. I refer to Daniel as Dusty. He seems to. He really gets along well with people. He tells you whatever you want to hear. You're not going to hide bodies because they pop pills. right, nihilism. If children go back to the parents amid an investigation like this, then Child Protective Services have failed the kids. It just wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen in a situation like this. Yeah, Kylie, they have Meadow. They've had Meadow for weeks now. It has to have everything to do with violence in the home, sadly. Being neglected, violence in the home. Well, what would then bring all of that on? Daniel said that they had drug problems. He hasn't taken meth in 6 months, apparently. All that means is that he's admitting to being a drug user. Doesn't matter when you did it, you still increase the risk of something happening to those kids. And guess what? It happened. I might look like that, Esther. But there's a reason for Daniel's behavior in that sense. Not just because he likes attention and things like this. He's just making it look a certain way. Anything to embellish and deflect away any sort of suspicion in the moment. He wants to pretend to be looking like he's so invested in trying to find these kids when in fact he's not, because he doesn't want to address any of the hard questions. He doesn't want to actually speak about it in a way that's realistic. He's just running around filling us all filled with false hope that these kids will just magically reappear and that they even disappeared walking into the woods on their own in the first place. In contrast with all of these substantial allegations, like they're substantiated. These kids were abused and neglected, and that's the bare minimum. They've even indicated it in their language. So what is it that they're not telling us? No, Lacadian, nobody comes and steals your kids when you owe money. They come and break your fucking legs. All right? They don't come and steal your kids and then look after them. That costs them more money. It makes no sense. No, they hurt these children. There's no Hollywood version of this fantasy realm bullshit. You're reaching for things that you don't know. You don't have to go there. It's the answers are right in front of your face. You don't have to include any other things. They did something to the kids. Why? Because they're the ones lying. No, I can't even. I appreciate your comment, Kara, but I can't even agree to that. She says, I think that there's probably an accident, whatever happened there. So that's just your mind getting lazy, okay? No, it wasn't an accident. It wasn't an accident because they've killed 2 kids and they're covering it up. There's no accident there. Like they're trying to keep them asleep. Maybe give them too much sleeping stuff. What sort of sleeping stuff can you give a child that if you give them too much it kills them? Or maybe left them in a car and they died of exposure? No, not in Halifax. They didn't leave them in the car in that sense. It wasn't hot enough in May. No, that's just a spin on child murder. It's not nice. People want to think about all the nice things that could have possibly happened in this circumstance. No, the kids are dead. These 2 fuckers who were lying killed them. That's why they're lying. Marilyn, I've been explaining this every day. That's what I think happened to them. I just said it. Lori Green, why would drug dealers want to kidnap kids? Well, the answer is they don't. People who come up with that idea don't know any better. I'm not trying to be nasty or angry, but it's just natural. People want to think about all the possibles. Oh, it can't be that bad. It can't be that bad. Fuck, how much worse can it get? How much worse can this situation get? Once you know there's one lie, there'll be another one. And wouldn't you know it? It's all a lie. Why? It comes back to people believing the things that are portrayed to them a certain way on the television. And that's why Daniel and his mom are feeding back into this situation, because of the last CBC video. They've got a well-established story out there that these kids just wandered into the bush, but no corroborating evidence. If they just walked into the bush, they would have found them. Right, these babies these babies want their mama. They wouldn't have been walking out anywhere. The fact that these son of a bitches put the blame back onto the kids, and not even the idea that somebody came into the backyard and got them. If you're out there and can't find your child, in that moment, to you, the only other option is that somebody came in here and fucking took them. And in the beginning, that's really the feeling that they wanted to portray onto people. But not quite, not exactly. Their stories are so soft and so ridiculous. There's no possible way that a human being can accept this. I think it's more likely it was Daniel or Janie, but just had a thought. What if Durwood is the family pervert and did something to them? And that's why he was so invested in lying and saying that they're alive. What if they were trafficking them to Durwood in that sense? And he's involved because he's part of it. Yeah, now you're starting to think on the right track. There's a lot more sinister actions behind all of this drug behavior. And it will be tied to sex. Even more reason to try to hide and cover up. Think about how far they still don't know exactly what happened to Orrin and Orson West. They still don't know what happened, and look at how far they went with that in prosecuting Trezell and Jacqueline. And we still don't know exactly how that went down. They refused to cooperate at every step of the way. You could see that scenario play itself out here, because they've proven so far to put their own priorities ahead of anything else. Like we're sitting here expecting them to tell us the truth. We don't need the fucking truth from them at this point. We don't need anything else from these liars at this point. We don't need any more information. We need action in that sense. Nobody believes these son of a bitches. Stop pretending that you're caring. Let's get this show on the road. No, they never ever found the boys, Sweet Tea. Never found the boys. So it's a good example of two kids that just magically disappear and had nobody else around them in their lives to ID them at any one point in time. Think about all of the interviews that we did, or that people did, on YouTube with people around Jacqueline Trezell. It's a lot of the same parallels. Different people, obviously, different things, but there's a lot of the same sort of treatment. Secondly, like a double standard in that sense around the house, and the discipline that finally led to the deaths of these two children. I would have to think that the same thing happened in this circumstance, or it's something more sinister and sexual. Yeah, the storyteller is going to be crazy AF. They're lying for a reason. Absolutely. Like, I mean, it was fairly obvious that Trezell and Jacqueline West were lying when they're in front of the cameras as well. The same sort of reception from people. Only in that circumstance, the parents seemed to have a lot more vocal support online. Now, that wasn't genuine. It was just people trying to get close to them in that circumstance. But it's not the same in this Jack and Lilly Sullivan's situation. People are, for the majority, horrified and outraged that the parents are lying because, well, the stories are just that bad. It just shows their misogyny and outdated perspectives of a happy family home, Karen Jones. You see these rules when they say things like that, it shows how unsophisticated and primitive they are in their relationships with other people. No, locked and loaded. They're not being held by anybody in the tribe. You think one is deceased and one is being hidden? No, it doesn't make any sense. Not in this circumstance, sadly. You're really brainstorming, though. Too unlikely at this point in time. Not likely. There isn't a bunch of people. All of the Aboriginals aren't anti-child and are enabling and aiding and abetting this crime at this point. No, it's not happened. These people are lying to save their own skins, and there isn't a whole whack of people. And there's $150,000 reward out there for any information for those kids. That'll be far more money than the people that would have taken the kids would have had. What about that? Those are fake tears, Ellie. What do you do? You think that's leakage, an indicator that he's trying to avoid speaking about something? I think it's just all show for a camera. Anytime that you see somebody start crying like that in a situation, there's something up. Yeah, I know what the red shoes are, Kylie. No, not in this circumstance. Not in this circumstance. I was once wondering about that beginning early on, but that's only because I was giving Daniel the benefit of the doubt. When I found out Daniel is bold-faced lying, it can only mean one thing. It would be one thing if these guys had a real legitimate solid alibi. There's no reason they didn't give us any reasonable doubt. They gave us stories and bullshit. in the exact same way. They told us stories in the exact same manner where they both told each other the exact same thing. Then Janie comes out with a story that's even different upon that, to the point where it's not even reasonable the way that they're portraying it, because they're portraying it as though in a tense in which they already know a great trauma has happened and occurred, minus any of the confusion. They put the cart before the horse. Yeah, you got it, Maryland Starbucks. It just struck you weird, Tammy? Yeah, well, it could just be that what struck you weird is the fact that he's acting weird, and he's acting. But you're used to seeing acting on TV. You know, he's just playing it up for the cameras. He needs to make it look like he is in desperate need to find his kids. He so wants to find these kids. Ellie knew that was the only moment I felt sincerity from, like it slipped out uncontrollably, like that, like it was leakage in that sense, his emotional leakage, because he knows the truth behind what he did to Jack, and it was an easy way to hide, no different than Janie crying on the sawhorse. That's possible. That's like, yeah, that's a place where leakage would happen, definitely. Like there's three parts, three types in that sense. Man, now you guys got me on wondering what the hell happened. That I'm wondering if the kids even made it home. Like, it's a strong possibility that they didn't. You're right. So locked and loaded, you're saying that they could have gotten backed over by a vehicle in the driveway? Crouching down, looking for rocks by somebody under the influence? Possibly. But and that would be the reason for her raking up any sort of like disturbance in the gravel imprint. I don't think postpartum depression has anything to do with this. That sounds like a desperate attempt to put a label on something that, it's, a crime in that sense. It's taking away from the reason. That's Daniel talking. You got it right, Tammy Burke. I feel it was guilt. And it was him saying Jack's name, meaning guilty conscience, in your opinion. Yeah, you're probably right. Maybe I should go back and take a look at that interview at some point. Yeah, you're right, Lacadian. He knows and he's playing everybody. That's for sure. That's no doubt. I'm with you guys. Daniel's always telling you how terrified he was. That'll always stick out in my mind. Telling you how terrified he was to take that polygraph examination. Well, if that happened, why would they call for help in that circumstance? That's why I can't see that happening that way. Like, that would legitimately be an accident, where nobody may be at fault. You guys are just thinking about all the different ways the kids could die. No. The only thing that's going to make them, put them in a desperate state of mind is it coming from their own hand. There's no weird accident. They didn't leave the drugs out on the table. They didn't come. That's just another way to blame the kids in this circumstance. And they do an awful lot of that. There's something really sinister behind this. No matter what, there's 2 children dead. That's a hell of a, like, what are the chances? You just backed your car up over 2 kids? Are you sure you didn't mean to back it up over 2 kids? Hey, Mr. Hemi. I mean, I love that you're thinking about all the possibilities. But that's low on the totem pole in my mind. At some point, no, it's not feasible in that sense. They're lying to the nth degree, and they don't plan on ever telling the truth in this circumstance. Kylie Madden, I don't know. I don't know about that. I just don't trust anything Janie has to say about this. Yeah, she glazed over what they went into town for, Niall. Yeah, that whole conversation was a bit bizarre. They usually spend all day sleeping. It's hard to believe. Tammy, what do you mean by that? AB, what are your thoughts on Toronto, New Brunswick helping? Oh, you mean other outside agencies in that sense? Well, hopefully it's some good fucking investigators. That's just shit that they tell you in the media to make it look like there's progress. Oh, we've got these great new agencies. Well, the fuck do we care? I don't like the fact that they're saying how innocent they are and unequipped to deal with situations like this. That doesn't make me feel very good. What is it you guys are equipped to do? Hand out traffic tickets? Fucking losers. She might have battered the kids, Karen Jones, but I don't think it was by her own hands. She might have been pressured and under duress at all points in time living in the house, but personally, I don't think that she actually did it. I might be wrong. But I don't think so. Like, there's no need, if it was Malaya's hand, Malaya doing all the deeds, there wouldn't be any need to bullshit so hard like Daniel's doing. Daniel has a need to be careful. You can see that when you don't need to be careful in the position that you're in, and he's so overly concerned about giving people any sort of information under the guise of not interfering in the investigation. He wishes he can give us all sorts of information, and he has it. Well, we know you do. Fuck, that's like admitting to the cops that you have all of the information that they want. And he does. But they've got to get it. Oh, Shepherd Lover, thanks. We're up here just, tonight's pretty boring. I like the conversations. Believe it or not, I like what people have to think. As crazy as some of them are not unaligned. Iwishen, what if an accident happened at the exact spot Janie was working the ground, like a vehicle accident or an ATV accident? Possible. Like, what would happen? Like, the whole act we're insinuating they did could have happened there, absolutely. And they're working to cover up some sort of evidence. Yeah, I can believe that. I would expect that. But I don't know that the fact that it just happened in front of her trailer necessarily means it includes a vehicle. Like, it's so bizarre to me that a car just, especially with all the backup cameras and things on it, you just hit a couple kids in that sense, and now you have to get rid of the evidence so you don't get caught. What? You wouldn't even save the kids if you hit them? You just sold them out like that? Oh, I don't think so. It doesn't sound probable to me. Like, I mean, it's not. It doesn't jive. Yeah, I can agree that something may have happened in front of that trailer, but it was on purpose. There was no mishap or no accident in that sense. It was done on purpose, and it had to do with the way that they disciplined the kids. I'm sure of it. Yeah, you're right, Shepard. Janie's scary and deceptive, confrontational and angry, and she was preemptively denying police, denying her. She was uncooperative, didn't want them searching her RV. I don't know what red zone is, Esther. I don't know why Daniel is sitting there walking around like some sort of hero dad with a picture of his Meadow that he has supervised visits to see. Like he wants some sort of, affirmations from the general public and congratulations and kudos. He wants to garner some sympathy. He needs a fan base telling him how great of a dad he is. You're the fucking worst, pal. Is it pot o'clock, Mr. Hemi? Hold on. Let me get one in my mouth. Like, that's high. I don't care what you guys say. I find that highly inappropriate. Especially in this circumstance. He has the need to make it look like he is this outstanding father that cares so much for Meadow. You don't care for any of those kids around there. Sweet Tea, good observation. Janie only cried for Daniel. She didn't shed one tear over those children. Right. Right. Locked and loaded. Not in this situation. That's not a hardwood forest. Those are pine trees. Spruce. I know where you're going with that, but I don't think so. I think that was more planted evidence. Mind you, I'll never forget that story about that dog that they found in the middle of this like really old oak tree in the UK. This tree was blown over in a storm, and they found this petrified dog in the middle of a tree that had to have been in there from like the 1500s. That's crazy. That's so crazy. Like, it was a hunting dog. It must have chased a fox or something up the tree and got stuck in in a hollow part of a hardwood tree. Never got out. Not that I think that happened here by any chance, but who's Kent, Layla? Who's Kent? He's biased. Who are you talking about? Yeah, this is true, Tony. That case makes me so sad too, Monkey. Oh, you don't need to thank me, Marilyn. Thanks for listening to all of this garbage. That's actually common for plants to overtake humans. Think about what bamboo, about bamboo and how fast it grows and how sharp the shoots are, and its use in penetrating the human skin and torture techniques, for example. It's not unheard of, but that didn't happen here. Let's get that straight first. The force didn't swallow up those kids. Lacadian, you think it was or you're saying maybe a possible drunk driving accident on the ATV? No, I don't think so. Even then, you got in a little ATV accident. The next thing you know, you have to kill both the kids. And then cover it up. No, that's wishful thinking. Listen, the only reason to lie and have this whole story is to cover up the absolute worst. This association with an unfortunate, it was an unfortunate series of events that took place, but it doesn't have to do with a happy joyride on an ATV and even having alcohol in your breath. It wouldn't warrant this sort of reaction, or like his reactions, or the need to cover up to such an extent. There's all kinds of things you can move around on an ATV in that sense, but it seems pretty unlikely. You know that there's abuse. You know that there's physical abuse. There's abuse by neglect. Daniel's always yelling at the kids. You've never seen a mechanic in a wheelchair, Andy? Who do you know that's in a wheelchair who's a mechanic? Like, this is the worst sort of crime. Like, I mean, that's all the reason in the world. I know Daniel knows what they do to child killers in prison. He's probably not going to live that much longer. All the more reason to be lying like he is and deceiving in a desperate attempt, like not caring. Like, you have to come up with an answer. It doesn't matter what that answer is, as off the wall and stupid and unrelated to anything as it is. At least it's an answer. And from a criminal standpoint, that's really in the rule book. Who cares what you say? But as long as you provide an answer, they have to deal with that answer. They don't have to believe it, but for that moment in time, they have to accept that answer, meaning the authorities. Emotional abuse, humiliation of the children. What do you mean, Karen, with humiliation? What sort of humiliation was going on? That would be talking about disciplinary actions. Mr. Hemme, you think those are fighting roosters? Killer roosters? Oh, Mel, you got it. It was definitely by one of their hands. It was... Think about the compounding frustration at the home when Janie is upset. The dog's always getting pissed off at the kids. Everybody's pissed off at the kids. They're pissed off at Malaya for not doing what she's supposed to do. I wonder what that actually means. Like, that she's ignoring Jack and Lilly. That's what I take from what it is that they're saying. But what are they really saying? Like, that's a cover for something else, I feel. Because they're admitting to something that's so stupid. Like not seeing for the forest for the trees, like their own behavior in that situation. I think it's more on purpose than anything. Like they're admitting to something bare minimum. There's more to it. Yeah, I don't know. People keep talking about, wasn't it payday or something like that? I don't know what you guys are saying, why that would have anything to do with the children going missing. Payday for them or something. I'm not sure what you're getting at. Payday meaning that they got an extra influx of money and spent it on drugs and got to the point of going outside of themselves and something happened to the kids in a fit of rage that they couldn't control because they're all fucked up on drugs or something. That would be more like it. Like something pushed them over the edge. And what pushed them over the edge was this compounding frustration with the things that they've already admitted to, because that is the recipe for a toxic environment. And the toxic environment, none of these individuals have any patience, you can tell. So there's things going on in the background. There's a lot of blame going on. Is this the beginning of all of the blame that they start putting on Malaya? I wonder if that was an ongoing thing, part of the abusive nature of the house. I'm not standing up for Malaya, but it just makes me wonder. Yeah, Ronnie, how do you say, what do the goodies have to do with the downfall of the kids, though? And that's the reason why they're in town? Oh, maybe that's what you're getting at? Yeah, that's a good observation. I see what you're saying. Well, why would you be bringing the kids up on abuse charges when there's probably murder at hand? Raven's Sunstar. They have to pile it up and get it all together. That's probably going to take a little while, but I wonder what's taking them so long. I'm curious to know. It could be just the workload. I appreciate you being here, Esther, darling. Imagine picking up the kids in anger and then what? It had the only plausible scenario in my mind is Daniel's and Janie's flavor of discipline or whatever was. However, it escalated. Something happened to one, and then maybe, how do you know Lilly didn't try standing up for Jack in that sense? Because I feel that Jack was the one that was being singled out by Daniel and Janie in that sense. He seemed to be getting into what kids get into, and he got yelled at in that sense. What if the kids were actually delayed, didn't understand it? I appreciate that, Kenny Cross. God bless you. Thank you very much for the $5 super chat. We need justice for these kids now. Oh, sooner the better. Thank you very much. That's very generous. them already indicating that yelling was the standard, and there's some sort of disciplinary action because Malaya wouldn't look after the kids. I feel that Daniel had to sort the kids out and prevent them from getting into any, and I quote, trouble in that sense. And it was that sort of resentment, kind of like Letitia had the same resentment towards Gannon Stock's ex. I love you, sweet tea. Lindy, thank you very much, darling. That's a loving... Thank you for the super sticker. The $20 is super nice and generous in my pockets. So there's a resentment that you could pick up, whether it's from Janie or Daniel, towards Malaya and her not rearing the children in a way that probably kept them out of trouble. Then Daniel would have to get involved and sort them out, and that anger would fall upon the children because there's nobody out there to witness it, number one. So they felt that they could get away with bullying and picking on the kids to the point where it escalated because it didn't resolve anything. They never solved anything. The children didn't understand that as a punishment. So the only answer to Janie and Jack was to escalate the punishment even further, to make it hurt more and hurt even more. And the next time he's going to make it hurt more. And you do it again, it's going to be this. Until eventually it took their lives. And during this whole process, Lily was probably could be standing up for Jack in that sense, and got in the way of his disciplinary actions, was a witness to it. And these two didn't plan on getting caught for the unfortunate series of events after he brought more physical harm towards those children. Because a 4-year-old, Jack's 4, it doesn't take very much to hurt a 4-year-old in a fit of rage, especially if you're under the influence, if you're unable to control your emotions. There's another thing that they couldn't do in front of the camera. You guys couldn't control your emotions that day. You were too busy crying on the bench over the fact that you couldn't find your kids, or the kids were missing. What point did you decide the kids were missing? Because it sounds to me, a parent doesn't start referring to their children as missing if they weren't actually already missing. How is it, and when is it did you really realize that they were gone, never coming back? That's my point. Usually in a legitimate situation like this, you would never give up hope in this circumstance. You would never even refer to the term missing. At that point in time, when you're still searching, you don't already come to the conclusion that that they're gone. They've gone missing. They've disappeared. Good to see you, Dale. Yeah, Bonnie Randall, you discipline gone fatal? Right. I wonder what sort of techniques that they used in particular. Yeah, Marilyn, I think that Malaya was a witness to it. I think Malaya was probably a witness to it all. Whether it was right in front of her face, maybe not. I would think so. Or does she have more of a sinister role in all of this? We don't know yet. I'm a Sens fan. I think that was in the group chat. Or maybe it was on the news. Now you got me questioning that. Maybe I'm not the one to ask. Friends, I'm going to take off. It's 2.5 hours, y'all. We'll be back in the morning. We'll continue the conversation. We'll keep the brainstorming going. I appreciate you guys stopping by tonight. I got to go attend to some snacks and things like that. Keep thinking. I hope we've made some progress today. I did. I'll be thinking about that time period after the hardware store in that sense. The need to be at somebody else's house doing laundry at such a late hour. That's bizarre. You guys are wonderful. Thank you, man. I'll talk to you a little bit later. Peace out.